An October 2020 study from the Federal Government Accountability Office found that unintentional leaks by educators making sensitive information public were far more common than cybercriminals breaking into the school system. So let's take a look at what you can do to lower the odds that you will unintentionally leak sensitive student information. Even though we often think of security in a computer context, there are also considerations to the physical environment. This means not leaving out papers that have sensitive information in your work area. Those should be stored in a cabinet with a lock. This also means not leaving papers or post-it notes with passwords written on them, even if you hide them under your keyboard. Be wary of the people around you and the information you might unintentionally expose. For example, shoulder surfing refers to when someone can see confidential information or you entering a password by looking over your shoulder. You may want to ask the person to take a few steps back or wait until others aren't around before accessing the information. Another potential source of unintended exposure is leaving a device unlocked where anyone who walks by could access it. Get into the habit of locking your device when you step away. If you're using a Windows device, you can do this by pressing the Windows key plus L. If you're using a Mac, you may need to adjust the settings to get to the keyboard shortcut. The actual shortcut you use will also depend on the version of your operating system. Reach out to your IT security for more details on how to accomplish this. Even when using these tools, remember, we all make mistakes, and unintentional exposures of data happen frequently. Here are some common ones. When sending an email, be careful with auto-populating the to field. The first name it tries to populate may not be the one you actually intended to send it to. Also be careful when hitting reply all, that everyone on the thread actually should have access to the information. When sharing information over the cloud, files may have sharing settings. Make sure that sensitive files have appropriate settings in place. If the share settings say that the file can be read by anyone who has a link to the file, it's possible unauthorized individuals will be able to access it. Furthermore, if anyone with a link can edit the file, you become vulnerable to integrity breaches, where anyone could change the file's content. In cases where working remotely, your actual device becomes a potential source of unintentional exposure. For example, a laptop is a convenient tool for working anywhere. But what happens when you accidentally leave it somewhere? Or, worse still, in 2017, a school counselor in El Paso, Texas, had their work laptop stolen from their home, which contains sensitive information such as student birth dates, social security numbers, and home addresses. Your IT security should ensure that all work devices have an encrypted hard drive. You should also ensure that a strong password is required to log into the system. The same goes for mobile devices, like if you're using a smartphone to check your work email. Make sure that some form of authentication is on every device you use for work. Again, this could be a PIN, thumbprint, or Face ID. If you have a specific shared drive that your IT maintains, you should share important documents there instead of on your computer's desktop. That way, if something happens to your device, you'll still be able to access the documents. And in cases where the school authorizes you to take physical copies of education records home, you'll want to make sure to apply a similar level of protection that they would have had in the school building.